Good morning, guys. Welcome to TMX Adventures. Lisa here. Hey, today we're going to make some crumpets, okay? Not gluten-free, but if you want to try with your fancy gluten-free bread-specific flour, you certainly could give this a go. I reckon you'd have success. Not with the stuff I would normally use, though. You guys have seen like the basic brand stuff I use at times won't work. It needs to be specific bread flour, okay? So, before we get started today, I've got a couple of really important things to let you know about. One is about blades. Okay, let's talk about blades. I've spoken a few times lately about blades, mainly because I have a pair that is well and truly on the way out. And there's a couple of things I've noticed that I know they're on the way out. And if you've got a pair that you're going to inspect now, regardless of what model it is, there's a sale on in the mix shop, so you can get them discounted, the blades. So now's the time to get your backup pair of blades, okay? So let's talk blades, all right? They are the wearing, tearing part of your Thermomix, like tires on a car. So it's not surprising that if you love and use your Thermomix, at some stage you're going to have to replace your blades, okay? Just, that's it. But how cool is it we don't replace the Thermomix, we can replace blades. Now, the blades have bearings inside. It is actually made up of two components. However, I tend to reference it as three parts, but it's actually two. The top little bit and the bottom bit are connected. They are one bit that's joined together with a line through the center, a core, I guess you could call it. Then you've got the center bit. Okay, it rotates, it moves. Well, more so the other one moves and it normally holds still, but you can see it's moving independent of the top and the bottom. Okay, it's like a little hat piece. It's made up of this stainless steel, this seal. Okay, never completely take that off. You can pull it back and clean under it, but never completely take it off. It'll stretch eventually. And then this bit here. Okay, so it's made up of that kind of component in there. Now, telltale signs that your blades are going. Okay, there's a couple of things you might notice. So I've got three things you may notice with your blades going. Number one, you may find in the little rosette in the bottom of your base of your bowl, down here, it might have brown liquid in it. If you're not sure, grab yourself a little cotton tip, stick it in there and see. Okay, if it's got a brown little liquid in there, that's called bearing oil. It is food grade safe, although that's on the outside anyway. And that's your first sign that they might be having trouble. By the way, this one of three, it could be something else first. That may not actually be the first sign, but it's my first. Check that, number one, okay? Is there brown liquid in there? If so, get yourself a spare pair of blades for down the track, okay? Number two, green confetti. You're like, Lisa, what are you talking about? Okay, green confetti. This base here, this section here where I've got a bit of salt crumb and sugar crumb, that there, if you find green or grey, if you have a TM5 or 31 in that space, confetti looking plastic stuff, your blades are well and truly about to go, okay? So if you have brown liquid or confetti, or the last thing being that you actually see wear and tear on your blades. I'm going to bring these up close to you, and if you look really carefully, you can see my green plastic has these little flex downs. Can you guys see that? Okay, now that is coming because as I use my machine, this here, I'm going to pull it down. You might be able to see, watch carefully. Can you see how they just joined? They didn't join, they sat on top of each other. So as this rotates in the bowl, it is now rubbing on the green, which actually produces the confetti I was talking about, but I don't have confetti yet. I just have little flex out green bits that shouldn't be there, and yours might be grey. This is TM6 blades. Okay, they are the precursors, the warning signs that your blades are loved. They have been loved so much that it's just about that time. Something else I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's consistent, and so I wouldn't call this necessarily a warning sign, is sometimes you get a mark, a line on your seal as well. Probably hard to tell if you have a TM5 or a 31 with a grey seal, but again, food grade oil just coming out and sitting on there, okay? In my case, I can also see by moving this mid segment up and down the shaft, it has movement. Like that's a massive hole. That's another thing you can look at. The first thing I realized years ago when my first set of blades were going on, I think it was a TM31, was I was like, wow, these are awesome to clean between. Look at that gap. Little did I know at that stage, I wasn't around long enough at that stage to realize that was the sign that it had dropped and it's sitting on that and it's starting to wear. Okay, so that's probably the first thing you might notice, like that big gap. It shouldn't have a big gap. If I compare that to standard blades, they're fairly evenly spaced, fairly even. Don't get a measuring tape to them and check. I'm sure they're probably not perfect, but they're fairly evenly shaped. What will happen when your blades do actually go? There's two things I primarily see. I see a base that actually snaps off. And people say to me, the base of my blades is stuck. You actually have to invert your Thermomix upside down. This little cog is what snaps off. This segment here snaps through there. And yeah, you just tip your Thermomix upside down, it'll fall out, okay? Second thing I see, which is actually far more common, is free spinning blades. So what's happened is these two parts are no longer on that same shaft. They're spinning freely and you could turn them and they'll do different things. At the moment, I can't. Mine has not gone to such an extent that I can turn it and they're doing different things. I, at this moment, cannot force that to do different things, okay? This middle segment, I'll just remind you, it moves. It's supposed to move, right? But the top and the bottom should move simultaneously. All right, so I hope that helps somebody today. There is a sale in the mix shop. So if you're thinking, if you've done that little check over of your blades, that little quick check, might be worth getting one, okay? Because it's discounted. So we're making crumpets today though. All right, so, and by the way, they're not gone yet. You guys are gonna know when they're gone. I thought they went the other day. My kids were using it to make bliss balls and it made the most horrific sound. And I was like, kids, stop, the blade's gone. They actually had a date stuck under the blades. So it wasn't actually, it didn't go. I thought it was going to. Usually, and I have a spare pair ready to go. All right, so I've actually got a pair, bought them last sale, put them in the cupboard because I use my Thermomix. It's a sign of a well-loved Thermomix. If you're watching on today, hit the subscribe button and remember if you're on Facebook to comment or engage so that the Facebook algorithm knows to put these in your feed. Let's make crumpets. Now crumpets, who would have thought you could make crumpets, right? That's something we buy. So who would have even considered? But I found them today and I'm like, oh, that looks fun. So let's make crumpets. They are something that's a bit of a labor of love. They can't be something like often our Thermomix food is like fast, right? Like it's like in and out of the kitchen. This one, you've got to give it a bit of time and thinking, but it's fun. And when you make it, it's rewarding. You're like, oh my gosh, I made crumpets. Who would have thought? So, by the way, are you a sweet or a savory crumpet person? So I only knew crumpets with like honey on them or golden syrup. But my husband, when I met him, he was a melted cheese crumpet person. What do you put on crumpets? Put it in the chat when you're watching on. These are from the UK. If you are an Aussie and you are watching on and you cannot find it, you need to change your filters. Reach out. I'll send you a video on how to set those filters so that they forever come up with the other countries that have English, okay? Start cooking. First things first is a tablespoon of yeast. I'll remind you again, keep your yeast in the fridge or freezer. It does not like changes of temperature. So 1 tablespoon. Now, if you have family that cooks with you and they get confused with the table, teaspoon, tell them, ignore the T. What's the next letter? If it's a B, it means the big spoon. If it's an S, it means the small spoon. Hope that helps somebody. Okay, 1 tablespoon. Mine's a dessert spoon. I don't have tablespoon. Oh, I might have a tablespoon measurement somewhere. Like an actual measuring spoon. I'm not sure. Probably somewhere. 100 grams of water straight out of the tap. Now, as I said, this is a 2-part video, or 2-part recipe, or 3 maybe. There's a couple of segments to it. So those of you here on Facebook, you need to watch the YouTube this evening. This will be up at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time tonight, or thereabouts, because that's where you're going to see me come back and do the step 2, which makes the aeration of them, okay, and the step 3 of the cooking off. So turn up later for those. Okay, 2 minutes, 37 degrees, speed 2. I'm going to skip that today just for time's sake, and it's about 30 degrees here today. So I'm not too worried, not to mention, you know, my yeast is not cold because I've been setting up for you guys. So I'm just going to skip it. The milk's cold though. So if there's a heat step here, I'll certainly be doing that because my milk is really cold. 200 grams of milk. Okay. Now I can hear some of you saying, can I make this dairy free? There's butter later on in the recipe. So you possibly could try with like a Nuttalex and some whatever alternate milk you like. Have I tried it? I don't think so. Okay, this is about the, maybe I've done it, I was gonna say third time. I've done it a few times, crumpets. I've even in the mix shop bought the crumpet rings, which you're going to see me use later today. So if you are going shopping in the mix shop with the current sale, the crumpet rings are awesome. Okay, they're like egg rings. They're really good. So, strong white bread flour. So, you saw me talk about this the other day. All right, this is what I'm using at the moment. You do want to have the baker's flour that they call baker's flour strong white flour in the UK. I didn't heat up that milk, did it? I really don't think you need to do that first step of heating up the yeast then, do you? The next step calls for plain flour. Now, those of you who watch on know that when I am doing gluten-filled stuff, I just use bread flour again. Okay, I don't bother buying a multitude of flours. I buy gluten-free plain and I turn that into self-raising when I need self-raising. And I would not throw that into here and bother with the half-half, okay? And I then buy organic baker's flour, but you can just use the stuff from Woolworths. And I just use it for anything that says plain flour. It's just that swap over. There is a difference, but it doesn't make a difference in the general cooking, if that makes sense. So you can't just use plain flour to make bread. It will be flat bread and you'd be a bit sad. It would not get airy and fluffy. It has to be that high protein. But to reverse it and go the other way, it doesn't make a difference, in my opinion. Okay. Okay, some salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. Not a tablespoon. I know you're looking at me going, Lisa, you've picked up a big spoon. I'm just using the tip of it so I don't have to wash more up. And then on with our lid. It's going to now knead. So we're kneading for 20 seconds. No, we're not. It's combining 20 seconds, speed 3, pulling that mix together. If you are a baker and you're wondering what I can bake in a Thermomix or how it's helpful, this is a good kind of show of how it combines food so efficiently and quickly, okay? You're going to see in a second that in 20 seconds, this mix has come together. I have 1 spoon. I have no measuring cups. Okay, if you have someone around you who is a baker and they enjoy baking, or maybe they're actually not, maybe they cook out of packets because they're not confident, the Thermomix is for them because it's quick, it's easy, it's clean, and it's foolproof. Go for those recipes with 4 or more stars and you will not be disappointed. Look at that, it's pulled it all together. Scrape down the sides because we want to get that leftovers in. Get the bit off the top as well. Maybe it's not going to need it. I thought it did. Hang on, we'll see in a second. You can see because I've got the whole grain unbleached flour, you could possibly see through the screen that it's a little bit off-white, like it's like a cream color, and that's why. All right, next up, insert the measuring cup. Is this my knead time? No, it's another mix. Maybe there is no kneading. I thought we needed. I've left the top off so you might be able to see. To make mention today as well, it is currently the 27th of November 24. If you're thinking about getting a TM6 in your bench for Christmas, there's an amazing offer on at the moment. Okay, I haven't had a chance to put a newsletter out to those of you who are subscribed. If you're not subscribed, scan the QR code. Oh, I've got the wrong, okay, it's still the right QR code. I've got the wrong background. My Christmas background's gone. Darn it. But yeah, I will get a newsletter out before the promo ends on Monday. But yeah, it's coming with a second bowl and the cutter, which is awesome, for free when you're getting a TM6. So make sure everyone knows. Perfect Christmas present, hey. So transfer to a bowl. No kneading. I was dreaming. But I am curious. So with that curiosity, I'm going to push the 3 dots on the top corner and I'm going to go to recipe details. I remember back in the day, the first time I made crumpets, it was before we had it on guided recipes and I was doing it from Recipe Community. These days, you can actually pull those Recipe Community recipes into Cookidoo and make them guided. How cool is that? Didn't need to though. Found one on here. It's rated well, so I'm confident. Let's scroll down though. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to let it rise for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then we're adding bicarb. No, there is no kneading in this recipe whatsoever. So whether I dreamt it or whether it's in another recipe, I'm not sure. But now what it tells you to do is transfer to a large bowl, cover with cling wrap and set aside for an hour to an hour and a half, 2 hours, and allowing the batter to turn into a massive bubble. So I'm just going to put aside, I'm not even going to take it out of this bowl because who wants to dirty another bowl? It will rise. It is currently this high, and I remember this from last time. It will rise all the way up to about 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters from the top of the bowl. When you come back to the next video, we will be adding the bicarb, which gives us some beautiful bubbles in there. We will then be cooking it off, and I'll show you how to do that process so that you can make amazing crumpets yourself in the Thermomix confidently, easily. And just, you know, it's one of those things, it's like, oh my gosh, I made crumpets, who would have thought? So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Remember to share it with friends and family, hit subscribe, engage if you're on Facebook watching this live. And I hope you really do enjoy this. If there's something you want to see made in the Thermomix, reach out. I'd love to help you either put like your traditional recipe into Thermomix terms or find one that's similar. Or if you're just not sure how to do something because it didn't work for you, ask the question. I'm here to help you get the most out of it. But otherwise, thanks for joining today. Take care in all you do, and I'll see you in a moment, those of you on YouTube, for the next steps in this recipe. So we'll see you then. Okay, welcome back. You can see I put the timer on the TM6 so I didn't get distracted, okay? It has 6 minutes left, but I've opened the lid and seen it's pretty high, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, if we go... Excuse the kids in the pool in the background, I'm sorry. It tells us now when the dough's risen to add half a teaspoon of bicarb soda to a small bowl and place the bowl on the mixing bowl lid. So bicarb soda, this is going to give it the bubbles. Half a teaspoon, not much at all. I'm just guesstimating as I usually do. Okay, in that goes. I'm using the measuring cup, okay, as a little mini bowl. Now it says to add 50 grams of warm water. And again, I'm using this. We actually have a 50 ml measurement on the measuring cup, which comes in handy, which will also help us with how much this needs to be. Uh-oh, little much, that's okay. Then we need to mix together, then stir well into the batter. So we give this a little stir. Just get that together. I'm going to actually hold back just that whisk a bit at the end because you saw I went a little heavy on it. So then it says stir into the batter. So you can see how high that batter has got. Okay, so let's stir this in. Actually, it's a little bit not dissolved on the bottom. Hang on, pause that thought. In the bottom, let's get that stirred in. Okay, now let's make the magic happen. So, you can see already those bubbles. I said I was going to leave a little bit left behind. And let's give it a stir. Look at those bubbles, that yeast doing its job. There we go. I reckon that must be about 8 ml left behind. Give it a stir. Make sure it's incorporated through. You can just use your Thermomix spatula. This is just what I grabbed for that bicarb. Okay, make sure it's distributed well. And now we've got half an hour. We're going to see in half an hour this rest time, which I'm going to just put the lid back on. We're going to see this phenomenally bubble up again, okay? Just making sure I've got that bicarb all into it. It's going to do some serious bubbling. We're going to put the lid back on, keep the bugs out of it. It doesn't need cling wrap. And I'm going to put that timer on for half an hour again so that I don't forget. All right, so I will see you in half an hour. And we're going to cook this off. I'm actually cooking it off today in a sandwich press. I've never done it before, but I thought I'd give it a go. You could do it on a hot plate. And I've got my crumpet rings from the mix shop ready to go. Just got to oil them up so that they don't stick. But I look forward to seeing you in half an hour, and I'll show you the next step soon. I hope you give this a go. We'll see you soon. Okay, welcome back. We're going to finish these off now. So I'm going to spin around. It tells us what to do here. It says that it needs 10 minutes on one side and 2 minutes on the other, and then it's pretty much done. But it does say that we need to be a bit gentle with these air pockets. So let me spin you around. You can see up the back there. Ooh, sorry about that. Let's make sure you can see. There we go. All right, so I've got the rings out of the packaging. I've actually got some coconut oil and I just rubbed it around. It does say melted butter. I figured coconut oil would do me the job. I've put this on and it's preheated, and I'm going to just open it up. We're actually not going to close it down. I'm purely using it as a stovetop, in essence, like a hot plate. The other thing to note with these rings is they're not dishwasher safe, okay? Because I suspect that you'd get food stuck, or liquid stuck in here, and it would actually, so in these little rings, and it would rust out. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to put them on here. I reckon I could actually have double this amount, potentially. And look at how bubbled up that is again. Now we need to be really careful as we pour this out. So let's spin this around. Oh. Okay, so trying not to knock. You can see as this goes, can you guys see in there how bubbly that is? So I'm just going to fill these. I'm not sure how far. I cannot recall how much this rises. So I'm going to fill the 4 of them, and then I'm going to pop back in 10 minutes, and we're going to have a look at what they look like, because it's about 10 minutes each side. Might be a bit faster, I suppose, depending on the cook time, but it says that the top should start looking dry and bubbly. Okay, and then we flip it just to finish it. So here we go. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm trying. You kind of cut the dough with the spatula. You can see all those beautiful air bubbles. That's what we're trying to retain. Okay, there we go. So leaving that open, not shutting it, treating it like a hot plate, 10 minutes. So I'm going to put the timer back on the Thermomix just because, otherwise 20 minutes will pass and I will, oh, that camera, there we go. I'll forget about it. So I'm going to put 10 minutes on the timer. Actually, I might put 8 just because in case it's cooking hot. Don't want to burn it. And then I'll be back in that time and I'll show you how they look. We'll do a flip and we'll finish them together. So I'll see you then. Okay, I've moved it in so you can see a little easier. We're looking for it to be a bit dry looking. And if you look at the top of this short one here, it's definitely dry on top. This one's not too bad. It's been that time. You can see the timer's just finished. These ones are obviously overfilled. They're going to take a little bit longer, but they're not looking too bad. So it says to flip them. I'm not sure if I can do this. Oh yeah, successfully. Didn't do too bad. And then cook for 2 more minutes. So I'm going to put the timer back on for that 2 minutes. Scroll that up. And I'll flip this other one. Probably need an oven glove, I reckon, to do this more safely. I don't know if these little things are hot. I don't really want to find out, to be honest. So I reckon they might be quite warm. So hence I'm keeping my fingers away. So maybe an oven glove would be a good idea when you are flipping these over. So 2 more minutes and we'll come back and I will show you the final result. I'll see you then. Okay, let's finish off together. I have these two, the front ones. I've actually carefully put the knife around while they're upside down. The timer's gone off and I'm going to see if I can shake them out or how they come out. But look at that. Homemade crumpets. How cool is that? I must have missed a section. I'm just holding it with a towel. Let me run and get rid of that hair. Let me run the knife around. The stainless rings are hot, so please don't touch them, okay? Look at that. Oh, how do I get this out? Like this. Look at that. Homemade crumpets. How cool is that? Oh my goodness. I'm just going to put it aside. And it's got the beautiful crispy base that you'd expect and then the bubbly top. Just put that one aside. Let's pick up the next one, flip it over. Let's see if it comes out. This one hasn't got quite as many bubbles on top. When I flipped it, whether that's squished in the bubbles, I feel like there was bubbles before I squished it, so maybe just squish them in. These last two I've not actually run the knife around yet, but I actually look at them and they're overfilled. You can see, well, you guys don't have such a great vision, but I can see that it's oozing out the other side. It's a bit big, it's a bit wide. We'll see in a second, I'll show you what I mean. Look at that. And you can see the bubbles around the outside. Like, how cool is that? Homemade crumpets. All right, let's do this one together. And I'll show you what I mean. See the overflow? It's overflowed out of the sides. So that's okay. It'll still be tasty. It just means it's homemade. Like when they're not perfect and all the same, it's that real life, real food, right? Like it's not conforming to the same size, the same shapes. They're not all identical. And it's that whole thing. This is real food. This is made with food love from your kitchen with those around you or for those around you, those you love, which is pretty cool. All right, I'm having trouble getting this one out because of the overflow out the side. Don't overfill them like I did, okay? So I may have to cut it from the bottom. I just can't get the knife in around there. There we go. All right, but I can say that the sandwich press was a huge success. If you don't want to turn on a hot plate and it's because it's hot in your house and things like that, this worked perfectly. No grease or oil on the surface of it itself, and I just put rather than butter, I did coconut oil just for ease of use. All right, let's see if I can get this out. Oh my goodness. Yum. And yum. I murdered the cider whisker. You can see there where it overflowed out of the ring. Okay, so that one, a little lesson in that one. And then this one will be similar. It was an overfilled one as well. So I'll find the same thing on this one. And they were really bubbly till I turned them. And then obviously as they sat on top of those bubbles, it compacted them down. So that's okay. Lesson for the next one. I have some more of the batch left. I reckon I'll get another 4 out. Something I am going to do first is I'm going to clean these rings. I'm going to use a scrubby from the mix shop. Again, a great little tool, or you could use like a Thermomix scrubbing brush. I want to just check if I can show you. They've cooled down now. See that in there? You want to get that off, because if you try and grease it and go again, you're going to find that they're going to stick, and then you're going to have even more trouble with it. So I'll just put this ring down and I'll show you this one. Look at that. I'm so excited. So moral of the story is do not fill them more than halfway. My first one, because when I flipped it, the bubbles didn't actually compress down onto the heat. It actually retained the bubbles. So tip of the day, only half fill them so that they've got plenty of capacity to rise within the ring, not go out the top, and it makes it easier to remove as well. So homemade crumpets, I'll finish the batch off. Amazing. I can't wait to hear you give this a go in your Thermomix and tell me what you think. It is worth the labor of love. There's a little bit of planning to do this ahead of time. Well worth your time and investment to do so. So give this a go. Tell me what you think. But otherwise, take care. Enjoy your Thermomixing, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.